time for Yoga with Jenny. Trying to get my view to encompass my whole mat. Let's see if we can get this a little bit better. All right. And we are joined today by Molly and Mary, two mat dogs extraordinary. This week, we're going to move from our shoulders into our back bending and chest opening. I was chatting with a student last night, and basically for me, in my mind, back bending in yoga is not about getting anywhere. I've had years of struggle with back pain, and yoga classes that tended to focus on back bending seemed to make it worse. No matter what I did, I felt like I was doing everything right. I was listening to their cueing. I was trying to engage my core to support, and it was still getting worse when I was bending backwards. So in my mind, our yoga back bends are really, instead of thinking about getting somewhere, making a big splash, making a big pose. And this is nothing new for my classes, and my focus tends to be a little bit about moderation. But for back bending, I really just want to start, for all of us to start thinking about back bending is really just coming out of forward bending. So it's a little bit less than you might think. Instead of being rounded, instead of our habitual posture, we're just simply kind of coming upright. So the back bending we're thinking about is lifting and lengthening and opening. So that's where we're headed. We're going to begin with our shoulders, however, because they're a big part of this. And remember, don't forget that back bending, chest opening, even just that act of lifting ourselves up out of that curled forward posture are very emotional, right? They create emotional changes in us as well. And they address emotional states, right? Changing our body state can help us feel more uplifted. So that's where we're headed. I'm going to begin using a foam roller to help me feel a little bit of that chest opening. So I'm going to lie on my side. And I've got a foam roller under my hand, under my palm. And as I lie on my side, I'm feeling comfortable through my neck. I'm patting my head up a little higher. And then I'm simply going to roll the roller forward and back. Trying to stop when I'm tempted to round forward or when I'm tempted to pull it back using my arm. And instead, just breathe, begin to feel whether I'm breathing all up into my trapezius, my neck muscles. If I can start to feel that breath moving my belly, my diaphragm, my ribs. And by letting the shoulders melt, bring the awareness into that area of the upper mid back. And that's where the shoulder blades lie. That's where we're going to focus on engaging today to strengthen our ability to come more upright, more open, and to feel more uplifted. So bring your shoulder back one more time. Just feel the scapula retraction. Hello. Shoulder blade moving to the spine before you then twist your body open. And then as always with our breathing, I want you to think of almost that three-part breathing where the breath moves into your belly, way down here, then up into your ribs, then all the way up towards the chest where we're beginning to stretch and move. Exhale and soften. Again, scapula draws toward the spine. Oh, this is nice. And you twist. So little by little, I feel like I'm twisting further, but it's not by yanking. It's not by pulling. It's less effortful and more about breathing and allowing. Good. Go ahead and bring that arm back around, chest back around, and close it up again. And then just roll to your second side. And we'll do that same chest opening, heart opening on the second side. The first part of chest heart opening is our shoulder. Can we feel some movement in our back? Move along. Bringing us out of our habitual rounded forward position. The next time you find that shoulder moving back, we'll just lift the arm and begin to twist, twisting open. Now, many times we think, okay, I'm just going to try to get there. I'm just wanting that back bend like crazy. I'm going to arch my back and get deeper. But I want you to think instead about the breath moving into your back so that you can access more movement. So those muscles need to soften in order to get them to move. Last deep breath here. Good, and closing back up again. All the way up onto hands and knees. So now you're going to do a similar movement with both sides of the body at once. So what happens is the shoulder blades are coming back, excursioning around the rib cage, coming back into retraction around the body without your ribs poking forward or the belly and the lower back arching. So it's a sinking, but it's without sinking. I'm going to let my shoulder blades come around my body towards my back, and then I'm going to push the floor away. Inhale to sink, the scapula comes towards the spine, engage that upper back. Exhale to push. Here's where you don't want the movement to be, is down near that belly button. But on the other hand, we also don't want to try to activate this by rounding our back. It's that happy medium that we're trying to strike. One more time. Good, and then just lower to your tummy. And we'll try to look at this in a different position, lifting away from gravity. It can be very challenging to lift ourselves up, right? The weight of the head. And even the start position can feel really tough if our lower back is, we're suffering from whether it's SI joint strain or sciatica or lower back discomfort, just run-of-the-mill discomfort. And you can see here how my back has that sway in that segment. It's tempting to want to go in the other direction in order to protect, right? We hear that over again. Tuck your tail to protect your lower back. But I want you to think of it in a little bit of a, again, a moderation, a way of doing it in a more moderate way. As I inhale, I'm trying to fill this area. So I'm trying to feel my back actually puff up. And then as I exhale, instead of dropping back down, drooping into my belly, I'm going to instead think about lifting my belly in and up slightly. So my back doesn't sink as much. It's just supporting. And that feeling of lifting up is not off the mat, right? It's lifting up muscularly or internally. We're going to start to move into Cobra. As you lift your belly, there's that exhale, and lift my chest and my head. Inhale back down. Exhale to come up. So here's where that shoulder movement comes in. I'm moving my shoulders back so that this area of my back, the upper part of my back, engages, and not so much down here. And then move through with a couple more deep breaths. Good, and then press it back. Child's pose. Good. Before we go back onto our belly and practice moving through, let's feel those shoulders in preparation for going to our belly. Let's just try to get a little closer to our belly. So back up onto hands and knees. Chaturanga practice. As you lower down towards the ground, remember that the shoulder blades should be moving as well. So often, I hear this too, we hear a soundtrack in our heads of shoulders back and down, pull them down. But if we try to hold that position when we're doing a push-up, things go wrong. Things can go wrong in our shoulders. Right? So come aboard, come up onto your hands and knees, bring the hips through. So what I mean by through is coming not lower than that neutral line, but coming in out of a little pike in the hips, engage the glutes, and the hips come long and open. Head is lifted in line with the spine, neutral plank. You can also, of course, come onto your feet if you're ready for that. But for many of us, we're not ready to handle that long lever. As you bend your elbows starting to lower, you want to feel collarbones widening, and then shoulder blades coming back. Push yourself back up. Push all the way up so the shoulder blades widen. And do that again. So whereas before we just allowed the scapula to move, now we're letting our elbows bend. Same task for the core, to not allow that buckling through the midsection of the back, the lower back. So hard. One more. Lift up to downward dog, pedal through your dog and breathe. Take a step or jump forward. Oops, I forgot my gloves. They're never where I want them. At the front edge of the mat, plant your feet and lift your heart to come halfway up. We'll take our cat and cow in a standing pose today. So my cow tilt is arching from head to tail. It's not a big droopy back bend, but it's just a little bit of an arc. Exhale, bow. Soften those shoulders, neck, and let yourself be rounded. Now that can be very high. It can be done very low, according to your flexibility. This is known as Ardha Uttanasana, the half lift or flat back. And then full Uttanasana. One more. Put a bend in the knees if you're not already bent. Roll up to standing. Oh, here's where the webcam needs to lift up. Just a teeny bit, not quite that much. All right, let's stand at the top of the mat for Sun A, sun salutes. Inhale, reach it, lift it. And instead of thinking, I want to bend my body back, let's just go straight up and down. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, that same flat back, shoulders back. Exhale to plank pose. Get strong through the legs and the belly. And slowly come down. Feel your shoulders are moving back. Inhale, lift to that Cobra. Hips on the mat, low back relaxed, belly strong. And lower down. Lift up to your knees and then down dog, or all in one fell swoop. Take a jump or walk forward, feet to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, down. Roll up through the spine, reach. And hands to heart. Same thing again, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, heart light, shoulders back. Exhale, plank pose. Long and strong. Breathe. And slowly lower. Cobra, lifting your chest. Lifting to downward dog. Step or jump lightly forward, feet to hands. Inhale, halfway up. And think about your shoulders. Exhale, fold. Inhale, standing tall. Open through the hips and then tall through your body, not forward through your body. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, shoulders back. Exhale, plank pose. Breathe. And exhale down. Cobra lift. Core lifts. You back up to downward dog. So many of us in downward facing dog find our back kind of starts to curl, shoulders start to lift, back is rounded. Instead, take a bend in the knees, send your sit bones up, strong and long through your back. Press your hands down and allow your shoulders to relax so you're not pushing so high or so much that your shoulders are up around your ears. On the other hand, you're not trying to squeeze the shoulder blades. That is a recipe for shoulder pain. So we're going to keep the shoulder blades wide. Build a little bit of heat and strength by just bending the elbows here and then straightening. So it's just a simple push-up action in the arms while the upper body stays stable and the core is holding strength from my body, from my torso. Getting ready for Dolphin, of course, so with the elbows, they're bending narrow. They're not flaring open. Good, press up once again, plank. Do engage your glutes and your pelvic. Engagement to neutral, so pelvis drops. Lower down. Core lifts as you lift your chest. Then we'll come back to hands and knees. Puppy pose. So we're going to take that a step further, that lowering down to the forearms. This is what I mean by not lowering them and letting them widen. Often that's tightness in the shoulder tucking that we start to internally rotate. So we want to try to feel as if that shoulder is turning out, the elbow turns in. It's also back tightness can contribute to that, the elbows wanting to flare open. So upper back and shoulders being tight. Who has that? I think all of us do. So that leads back to the posture discussion. So what I'm going to do for my puppy pose today is make it about that chest opening, right? Collarbones opening wide, shoulder blades coming back without having a translation in my rib cage and my lower back. So I'm using a lifted surface. I find sometimes a little windowsill or a chair might work really well, or if you are standing, you can put your elbows onto a countertop. But for me, and on my hands and knees, this works great. It's just about 14 inches off the ground. So I'm going to come up to hands and knees, and I'm going to start by bringing my elbows down to the box, or whatever the surface is. You can even do it on the mat. And then I'm going to try, of course, narrow elbows. I'm going to try to rotate my palms to face up. So again, that external rotation bias, and also kind of working on getting that shoulder blade to pull through. From here, this is not about sinking your back down, or at least not about your lower back. So the goal would be to bring your head down between your arms by allowing your scapula to come back and your heart to melt down. So eventually, maybe you find that surface with your head. But you'll notice that the opening here, the angle of the shoulder changed, right? This angle changed. It's not about my rib cage dropping below my shoulder. Right there, my shoulder is still higher than my body and higher than my arm. So instead of that, I'm trying to move my head and chest down so that the shoulder angle changes. This is not about squeezing your scapula together. This is wide scapula. Lift your belly up. So that's one example. Here's an example of coming down to the floor for the same exercise, the same chest opening. And if your elbows have to start closer to your body, that's great. And then slowly, gently working your way forward. We're going to take a child's pose with the hands back near the feet to rest. Good. Down dog. Plank. Feel those shoulders, shoulder blades coming back as you start to lower. And then come into goal post again. So the first thing we did was Cobra with a kind of a relaxed arm position goal post. I'm going to lift my belly, shoulders back with my chest. So again, I'm displaying a beautiful medallion on my chest. My collarbones are wide open, shoulder blades drop out. And one other thing that we're trying for in that puppy pose, you could see it, this idea of external rotation, so turning back in the joint. So it's not just about squeezing your blades back, right? You can do that and still have neck and shoulder pain, still have rounded shoulder posture, right? So we also want that shoulder to spin backwards in its socket. So we're going to practice this here in Cobra. I'm going to start in my lifted position, and then all I'm going to do is alternating arms. I'm going to try to rotate at the shoulder to get my hand to come off the mat. So it's very tempting to do it with the wrist. Oh, I get further when I lift from my fingers. But see if you can rotate back in the joint to raise the hand, and then do the other side. It feels very small and subtle. Little muscles here. And also muscles along the spine between those shoulder blades really working like crazy. Come on back down. Breathe. Hands plant on either side of the rib cage. So lifting up truly into our plank from this position requires a different start. If you're too wide, you're not going to be able to lift and press. Kneeling plank it is. So come forward one more time. Hips are open and long. Head is lifted. Shoulder blades moving back. Collarbones wide. One more try with that goalpost arm position. And this time we're going to rotate through both shoulders and lift both arms. Same preparation, Cobra. Breathe. Try to feel the scapula moving. Breathe. Lift up or engage your belly. And then last but not least, both hands. Shoulders rolling back, maybe the elbows. Less of that tailbone, more of your abdominals. Come slowly, gently, all the way down, embrace your mat. Bend your knees and wag the shins side to side, the feet side to side, and breathe. And lift and press to hands and knees. So a couple years back, this position known as cactus arms, I was calling it goalpost, became very popular. I started seeing it everywhere in yoga classes. And I kind of didn't understand it at first. I thought, why don't we just reach our arms up? But it is a great tool for accessing our upper back, this pose, this different position. Let's come back up to downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg. Strong, long leg, lifting from the hip. Holding your body steady. Core planks, we're going to pull the knee to the chest, engage your belly as you shift to plank. And then inhale back up, three-legged dog. 2 more times. If coming forward to a lunge is hard for you, just set your back knee down, swing that back leg around. Anjane, low lunge. I know my teachers used to say, in our back bending, we first need to open the hips, and then we can bend backwards. So it's hip first, and then back second. So we're adding into the picture our shoulder work, and then our deep hip opening. So in your Anjane, I want you to think of engaging the back, lifting up your belly. And that doesn't mean tucking your tailbone. So again, just like being on your belly, it's like, it's not going this far. It's also not here. It's that happy medium. And then we're going to raise the arms up. So as I mentioned, just go straight up. For those of you who want more lengthening, your front foot can be further forward. Body a little bit, hips a little bit lower. Good, touch down onto your blocks or the floor on either side of the front ankle bone. Tuck the back toes, lift your back knee. Extend the back hip. So now we're really working here like crazy to engage openness along the front of the hip. In other words, my hip is not bent like so. It's long and flat. Lift your torso up, lengthening it even further. And if you really feel sway in your back, you have tighter hips, bend your back knee. This time, come to your goalposts. A little bit in front of your body. It's easier to see this if you can look at yourself in a mirror or in the screen. Same goalpost we did on our belly. So lifting up, engaging your belly, engaging the scapula. Notice my hands didn't move. Engaging those rotators through the shoulder to move the hands, then the elbows go back. One more deep breath. If you want, extend all the way upward, even through your chest, and then down to the mat. This is a chance for a Vinyasa flow. So stepping back to plank pose, lowering it down, lifting your heart, and back to down dog. Second side, three-legged dog. Breathe and lift it up. Exhale to come forward, knee to your nose. Inhale, three-legged dog. 2 more. Think of that hip opening. It's about reaching back behind you through the hip. And step the foot forward, knee down, Anjane, low lunge. Zipping up in front, dropping down and back, raising your arms to your Anjaneyasana. If lifting your arms causes everything to lift, then leave the arms and just feel your body lifted. 2 hands plant, back toes under, tuck under, reach your back heel back behind you. Elongate the hip. When you're ready, hands to the front thigh, lift your torso. It's like bend in the back knee, lift your belly up. Goalpost arms here in front of your body. Move the scapula back. So we're thinking about initiating our back bend in the upper part of our back, as opposed to by letting our belly spill and our pelvis spill forward. It may look like a bigger back bend, but it's not coming from the place where I need to bend my back. It's coming from a place where it's already tends to sway. So my shoulder blades move. My chest starts to lift up, but my ribs are still in. Reach up, and then touch it down. And here's a chance to flow or rest. Child's pose. I also love to work with this palms up, elbows down, elbows narrow idea in child pose. Good. And we're going to end on our backs. If you have a blanket handy, that would be lovely. If you do not, you can use a roll of towel. You can also use a skinny type yoga bolster if you have those as well. We're going to have this perpendicular to the spine. So it's going to be in that area where we've been trying to bend. We're going to have something pushing against us, making us try to bend a little bit more. So here I placed it, and then I'm going to place my bra line on it. Now, if you come a little bit low and your shoulders are on that, you'll find yourself in a kind of a jutting chin, rounded shoulder posture. And that is not where we want to be. We want it to hit us in that area where the shoulder blades are, but just at the bottom of the shoulder blades, so that the shoulder blades and shoulders can go back towards the floor. I'm going to use a goalpost position. Now that is quite a big stretch. If you can't get your body to the mat, so you're kind of like so, then try something a little less vigorous, like hands on your heart, arms by your sides, or arms open. Practice that idea of the breath moving like a wave. Which includes that phase where it's like the softening, the letting go, melting. If your mind has wandered, bring your awareness back to your breathing. Soft and gentle rising and falling. Rolling off to one side and pressing up. Sit on your sit bones, reach your arms out and up. Feel your spine just gently lift, lengthening straight up and down, hands to heart. May we all be happy, may we be healthy, may we live with more peace and be more at ease in our body, mind, and our heart. Namaste. Thanks for watching. If you're here, don't forget to subscribe and hit like. Thanks.